Testing. Okay. Welcome to Evil Dojo. Hail Satan 666. Mark of the Beast. I'm the beast from the east. So I need to get like a separate browser up. Let's see. So I got a version of my game running in the browser last night. So see. There we go. Check this out. That shit works. That shit fucking works. Fuck yeah. So, browser version works, but in the process of getting this working, I fucking broke my Linux desktop build system. So, today I'm going to take some time to restore that, as well as separate out the pipelines for building desktop as well as web. I'll take y'all through like how things currently work, how I'm going to fix them. We'll do it all together. It'll be a good time. Now give me one moment here. I have an important thing to do before I continue. Besides rearranging these windows. Let's see. Okay. And then this guy needs to go up here. There we go. As you can see, browser version is there. I can see in the near future we're going to have the ability for you to play it, just by going to a website. I loaded it up on mobile. It loads, but of course we don't have any controls for mobile yet. So it's coming along, right? I'm very excited about what is going to be happening over the next few months. I'm gonna take as much time as I can to stream my development process, and I'll do my best to actually get on cam and talk while I'm doing it. It's not my strong suit to be programming while talking. I don't feel like I get as much done. That's probably because my talking position and the position where my hands are when I'm actually coding is usually different. talking while typing seems to require two separate parts of my brain, and it's very difficult for me anyway. I can't say this about everybody. Some people can actually do this with ease. It's just fascinating to me. It's probably because I spent so much time coding growing up silently, thinking in terms of handwritten notes and text documents. That's how my brain works. That's why we're building the game this way. But I've had enough success in tutoring people that I might as well tutor y'all while I get shit done. So I want the building of this game to be an educational experience for everybody, as well as actually creating a final product that's fun. And even then, who knows when final is going to be, right? Because in the best case, a game is software, and software is infinitely extensible. If you build software for a specific purpose, then there is a finite endpoint on development. But of course, there are there's rough edges that you have to smooth out along the way. So with that in mind, we're gonna smooth out some rough edges. Wait. All right. We'll come back to that when I decide to run it again. Now on to the real work. Oh, good music. I like this track. Is today Tuesday still? So I had an interview tonight that got rescheduled to Thursday for a technical pen test manager position. Sounds like something I could do now. Sounds more fun than developing. Never thought I would say managing anything would sound fun. Alright. We have to fix our build system. So this is the command I actually got, oops, to actually compile. So one of the things that I broke is down here. Actually, no, it's not in here. It's in game loader. So it says file not found, but it's actually okay because this is not being picked up by my the tooling that I've got integrated into Envim essentially. but it does actually compile properly for web. So like, simple enough, right? Because all the code for the previous version is still in there. So now if I update the make file, so web sources would use game loader web. So that compiles fine. But of course that breaks. So now we have to slowly fix everything. So at the moment, I have actually removed like all of the hot code reloading, and for mscripting I actually, you know, got rid of the main loop. So let's get that main loop back in there. Yeah, naturally, because the way that it was built, we wouldn't be able to build a not hot version, because the build system is expecting these functions to be available, but they're not. And that's because of the make file. Now I could edit the make file, but I don't want to, because I would have to go back and change it anyway after I change it. So I'd have to do two changes to it. So why even avoid doing two changes if I can just put the hot reloading back in, right? Oops. Oh yeah. Something's not right. No, it's good. We're good. Let me just add that window back in. Oops. Didn't mean to select that one. However, I did mean to select this one. And you can see we're back. So now, let's see. Now we have both the web version and the Linux version building in the same make command, which is fucking awesome. Hi, Nasia. I'm just telling the audience about this next milestone in the development process. Check out what we have. It's not much yet. This is not much to look at. However, it all works. It's all written in C. It compiles to both Linux binary as well as web. So pretty soon we're going to be able to have people load this up in their browser and play it from their desktop or their phone if they want to. At first, I plan on making it freely available during development so that people can play as I add things to it. I like to encourage people to encourage me. If you think what I'm doing is interesting or cool, give me a follow, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. All of my socials are available on www.evildojo.com. So that was a pretty simple change, right? That's really like the most I wanted to get done, and that was actually really like low effort. No, well, since I've been able to run log build stats. So, of course, the additional file has increased the size of our code base, and we could probably take time to reorganize things if we wanted to, but at the end of the day, take a look at how we could clean game loader web up. Hey Jira, I was just telling people about the milestone we just achieved. We officially have the ability to build for I'm trying to figure the fucking interference out, dude. Like I probably just have to get a new microphone because it's probably the connection. Every so often I like wiggle the the fucking this dealy. Like I've had this microphone for a few years. While it still works, I probably could get a new one. the connection here, which otherwise seems good. You know, like every time I move the microphone around, I know y'all can hear that shit. Like, so yeah, we separated out how the web version and the Linux version are built, and it was a pretty easy shift. I have two separate files. One of them is game loader and the other is game loader web. There's not too much of a difference between the files, and I only had to tweak it a little bit just to get it working for an scripting. But like, for instance, a lot of this stuff doesn't matter for game loader web. Like, we never use opengl, so we could actually get rid of this. We never use get last write time, so I could get rid of this. I never use check symbol. We never use load symbols. We never use auto reload. We never use auto reload every n seconds. We do use game loop. Game loop is used by mscript set main loop, which was one of two different ways that I was able to set up the web version. One of the ways you can like have your main loop still, but you have to pass a syncify flag to mscript when you compile it. But while I was trying to debug why my input wasn't working, I decided to try writing the code using this format instead, and it still works just as great, and apparently supposed to be slightly more performant than using a syncify. Did you know you can have the compiler strip this stuff out of the build automatically? Which stuff and how? You're piquing my interest, but tell me about it while I clean this up a bit. Because I'm gonna delete all these comments and see what like the actual line count for this file is. And since we never actually use these anymore, those can go away. And we probably never actually use dlfcn. What's LTO? Let's do me a favor and teach me and the audience something new. I'm familiar with the concept of a compiler stripping out unused functions from the binary, but I always thought it was something that was automatically done. I didn't realize that you had to pass any sort of flags to the compiler to like make it do that. One of the projects I have in mind as kind of like a really stupid but fun, like obfuscated programming thing is related to the shellcoding book that I just got, which I should bust that out. Hold on. So I got this book recently because I want to step up my hacking game, as I still feel like there's a lot of opportunities to hunt for bugs, ancient ones that can be done by anyone capable of firing shit off at servers. Got this book called The Shellcoder's Handbook. It's a very fucking old book, but it's the kind of stuff that I've wanted to do for a long time. Yeah, you mentioned that it was a good book, which makes me even happier that I got it. I know it's not the same authors as the web application Hacker's Handbook, but I feel like there's a lot of opportunity to marriage the content in the Shellcoder's Handbook with techniques that I've developed and learned doing web application hacking. Because I still dream of not only finding an RCE one day, but I dream of finding 0 days as well, and doing so automatically through basic ass fuzzing, which is one reason I need to get involved with AFL, because I do have some ideas for targets that I'd like to use on it fuzz, and perhaps even start digging into the Linux kernel, because god damn it, the reason that I have my headphones plugged in right now is because my Bluetooth decided to shit a brick, and I don't know what the fuck is going on with it. Makes me fucking mad. Like, I had no problems. There's no reasonable reason why it shouldn't be working, and I don't want to have to fucking change my audio setup just to accommodate it, because everything else still works, and I don't want other shit to break in the process. God damn it. Welcome to tech. This is why everyone fucking uses Windows, and I hate it. I hate it so goddamn much. People should know how to use their computer like you should know everything about your car. That's how I feel. And I also feel bad that I don't know more about cars, because even if I understood every single aspect of a car and how every single component works and the fundamental ideas beneath them, I often don't have the time or the energy to like actually do that shit, and so I don't mind paying someone to do it. So it's like, when people come to me and I get paid for doing things, I think, well, this is stuff that anyone can Google, anyone with half a brain cell can like look up and figure out. But at the same time, it's like, people pay me because I've spent a lot of time doing this already, and when they want to learn, they want to learn fast. They don't want to have to dig around and do all of that research. So oftentimes you can save time by going to someone who's vetted, right? Someone who already has the knowledge ahead of time. And that's why when people look at me as the smartest person in the room, that's a bad situation, because I'm always looking for the smarter people than myself, right? Because how am I going to learn if I'm like the top dog, right? I can't be the top dog. So there's always this idea that there's levels to this shit, and that you always have to be aiming for the higher levels, because that's the only way you can actually increase and advance your own knowledge. Spin game, what's up? I don't think education is something that can be learned in a classroom, but you can certainly find good teachers who want to teach. Because not everyone who is a teacher is a teacher, if that makes sense. But also not every teacher who isn't a teacher is a teacher. How's another way to say that? All not teachers may or may not also be teachers. Sometimes they just don't know it yet. As people who are very experienced in a field often have things that they can take back and bring people up with. And that's basically what I've gotten paid to do for like a decade or so. So let's delete some comments. Yeah, so one of the stupid ideas for shellcoding is to like actually write like small games in shellcode and have them injected. Actually, man, there was a really good blog that I read yesterday on hardware fault injection, and it was someone had some like old laptop with some old RAM, and they had like pulled the RAM out and like soldered it in so that it was still like connected to the motherboard, but then they had like a random input pin that they had soldered onto it, and by flicking a lighter near this pin, he was able to arbitrarily inject faults in the page tables. And by by like spamming RAM with like perfectly sized chunks of memory that contain malicious content. He was able to hijack root without having any sort of interaction. It was like one of the craziest like RCEs that I've ever seen. Dude got root with a lighter. It was pretty sick. I'll have to find a link for y'all. So this is much smaller than the other game loader, right? So my build stats script keeps track whenever I do a check-in with it. Yeah. I know, thank you. I'm sorry. I already spent some time explaining. Anyways, my build script I'll tell you right now, it does not sound as good coming out of my webcam. Like, not to mention I'll have to turn off all my filters. Here, I'll show you. I should be able to do this on the fly. How is it now? Yeah, I can see it. It's not like consistent. So if I turn off all the filters, you're gonna hear everything in my background. See, I turned off all of my filters, so you're gonna hear a lot of stuff in the background. It's not the best experience, I bet. Like, if I were to monitor it right now, it probably sounds very chaotic. Let's see, let me do monitor and output. Yeah, it's not the greatest. See, this is webcam, but if I go back to this microphone. Y'all don't even know that. Now it's like pretty crazy because I have all the filters turned off, right? So if I go back into filters, okay, so I had gain up by like 5. I'll turn it to like 0. How is it now? Anyway, this build script measures several different features of the binary that gets generated and compares it with the code. Code's currently 3,227 lines. Lib bytes, which is the size of the libgame.so, and then bin bytes, which is the size of the binary. lines of code per second is a measure of how quickly the code base is changing. And in this case, because we ended up with less code than the previous check-in, that value gets measured as a negative. So you can check reductions in lines of code by checking if this is a negative value. All right. Let's see. All right, let's see where we're at. Oh yeah, that's right. I have to fix the window position. It looks fine for y'all, but yeah, I want this to be just 920. There we go. So at the moment, camera follow or like lock on is turned off. I would think that like we might want the default position to be like over here, right? Like so at the moment, the way it works is if you attempt to attack without a weapon, you go idle. If you hit comma on top of a weapon, you pick it up and it's in your inventory, and the game recognizes that you have a weapon in your inventory. Just for demo purposes, if you press E, an enemy spawns directly to your right. I have him currently not moving, but I do have a little algorithm that like makes him move randomly. You can spawn just as many dudes as you want to. You can't move through them, but we can attack them, and they do change animation, recognizing that they have been damaged. There's a lot of little subtle tweaks and things that I'm gonna have to do in order to fully get like actual attacking working, as well as getting in a system where you can defend and actually engage in a back and forth between an enemy. I feel like it's going to be really important to work through a lot of these details now. So this environment effectively is a sandbox, right? It's a nice little training ground for building up all of the different necessary functions that I'm going to need in order to wire things together to make a really fun procedural experience. The idea being, of course, every time you load the game up, you get a different experience. I have to find a very good balance between making the game fun as well as satisfying my autistic need to make things incredibly detailed, like attempting to simulate things in the game that absolutely probably don't matter. So there is like a balance that I have to strike. But I've had a lot of fun putting this together so far, and I can't wait to actually have something that people would enjoy playing and could see where it's going and what I want to do. So it's a process. It's a lot of, just patient code writing every day, trying to make sure I don't burn out in the process. In fact, I didn't even plan on getting a web version working yesterday. And I forget what led me down that. Oh, I know exactly what led me down that rabbit hole. There is a raylib game jam coming up towards the end of the month. and I wanted to get ready for it by having a web version built, because that's how they typically expect you to upload the game for submission. I'm gonna change tracks. Let's see. Yeah. So in addition to that, we've also got these. I also have the beginning of a lighting system working, similar to how it's worked previously. This game still has quite a work to do before it's mechanically on par with what I had built on iOS for Project A, but graphically already superior to not only that, but also fucking Skull. Not my own graphics, of course, but very happy with the purchase decision I made. Like, for instance, I could see this tile right here should obviously, like, in-game be represented as like a stone spike tile, or a stone with like a spike trap of some sort, or maybe like you know, walking on top of a trapped tile makes it become a certain tile. I'm already thinking about how tiles should break. Yeah, this is all, and this isn't even like a fraction of the assets that we have available. So I have to be very careful building things forward, and there's already a lot of different structural changes I'm considering to how assets are tied to their in-game representations. But so one thing that we can do for the and I'll have to figure out a way to like separate these out too, but for the web version, we could have a completely separate like size of window parameter, right? Oh, 1920 by 1080, right? But what's 7? It's 1280 by 720. So like if we wanted to do like a mobile version, that doesn't look too bad. That does not look too bad. Further away. I'm afraid you wouldn't be able to hear me very well. Like, how far away are we talking? And in fact, I have to be careful about it because now the connection is getting pulled by the desk. So I'm gonna try not fucking with my mic, because this is the third time someone's come in here and complained about the microphone. I recommend that you get to the stream earlier so that you can hear the explanation the first time. I'm not trying to be a dick about it, but I am well aware of the fact that there is a fuzz in the background of my microphone. But I do appreciate you trying to help. However, constantly talking about the microphone is throwing me off from being able to it's when you talk, it's peeking out. Yes, I'm able to read your chats. Thank you. Now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna get back into it, because I don't need some viewer trying to curate my microphone. Period. Like, I did my best before I got on stream, and I don't know that buying a new microphone is going to solve the problem, but it's worth a try, right? But I've applied a large number of filters, attempting to clean it up and make it sound better. So this presentation looks pretty good for mobile, right? Maybe like our default camera and our position is like a little bit more centered out. Virtual meltdown. I'm gonna just say this for the last time. Please stop trying to like direct the stream, okay? I'm trying to get some defaults down for a good mobile presentation. Oh, the debug panel is drawing too far down. In fact, I think this window might be too big. $720. So what's the next step down from 1280, right? I guess let's do 360 by 640. That would be the inverse of what we had it previously. Then we could use this to scale it up and down. Okay, so that's still a little bit big. Should probably do like 1.5. Okay, that's not bad, but we still have to like tweak the position. We can leave the default camera zoom fine, but and the debug panel does appear pretty good in the right spot. I feel like this would be the best presentation for like mobile. That looks pretty good. We can still zoom out. Yeah, like for it's totally zoomed out, it's like very hard to see everything. But I imagine in a environment where you have a much bigger dungeon that you're working with, this would actually be pretty good. 2x feels pretty good. 3x also pretty good. 4x pretty clean. 5, you're starting to get in. You can really see like all of the edges of the pixels. So let's fix the camera zoom. Not the zoom, but the position. So the offset's currently 180, 320. Let's do 64, 216. And actually, I think that would probably correspond pretty well to something like that. A little bit further over, a little bit more up. There we go. Yeah, this feels pretty good. Actually, I think we could even move the height down. Yeah, that feels pretty good. And this might even be a reasonable window presentation for someone playing on desktop, who knows. I want to have a very modular interface, but of course, if you're playing on web, you're not going to really have a lot of access to that unless I build those tools in. I mean, like, not having access to keyboard is going to greatly limit what you're able to do in the game unless I build tooling for like menu systems and mouse controls and stuff like that. So I'm gonna have to build a lot of stuff like that in. And I want to get a lot of that stuff in early before we really build out like a lot of the rest of the game. So there's several milestones that we're gonna have to keep in mind, right? Like, is there no to do in here? Oh shit. Oh geez, this is a fucking troll. Okay. Gotcha. If you can't learn how to chat properly, then you're not going to get a chance to chat at all. So that sounds like a personal problem, man. But do me a favor and, you know, Get a life. Watch this. Here's how much your chats matter. Let's see. Let's see what else we got. I drink the tears of my enemies. Item drops. Think about some other stuff we gotta do. It's a good time for me to make a list. See, I don't see how someone's going to come into the chat without an actual critique, or at least accept my explanation. You know, it doesn't take long for me to figure you out. I've got a lot of experience dealing with people like you. And I'm taking lessons from the greats. So oh yeah. Yeah, if your chats aren't about the game itself, you're just banned. Or if you're not actually talking about tech or making an actual thoughtful insight. Because Jira and a previous chatter actually did comment on the microphone. I explained the situation to them. They're cool. I actually listened to myself by making test recordings. I usually do this once before stream, make sure that everything works properly. And if the microphone's a satisfactory quality, then I choose to stream. So you got to get it out there one way or another. Oh, raylib based music. So this is going to be important because I previously could not get raylib music working. I know I can, and that it just probably requires a restructuring or proper positioning of certain lines of code. But my experience with it last time resulted in the music and sound effects sounding very jittery and staticky. However, I was able to get it working fine with libsdl. However, I am probably not going to be able to use that for the web build. So I'm going to need to make and I would prefer to get it working all within raylib. So this is going to be pretty important too. Item use. There are a lot of stuff like that. Traps, trap tiles. Hmm. Welcome back, Jira. It's taking an inventory on all of the fucking work that I have to do for this thing. I don't have to, I want to. This is just a subset of all the different things, right? The hacker throne. Is that the toilet? Because it sounds like the toilet. The porcelain throne. Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry, automod fucking sucks, but I've had some, unless I want to like go through and like curate every single bad word that anyone's ever said, I need some sort of filter to prevent stuff from going up on the VODs, you know what I mean? I do apologize about that. Yeah, no kidding. As Terrence McKenna once said, that he thought the purpose of life is to create art. And while I may not have created the graphics for this game, the dream that I am envisioning the system that I want to build, I feel like is an art. Trying to make my GitHub have commits every day. The greener the box, the better. So we have a lot of things to do. What's the immediate next thing? These are all in a .h file now, so it's okay. It's not the best code, but it's working. And there will always be chances for us to refactor something. Yeah. I moved this to its own file. So we'll get rid of that too. Some people would disagree with you, Jira. I can think of many instances where quality of code is measured not in how much line you or how many lines you have. Checking in lines doesn't always imply that you're, quote, getting things done. The codeless code. So this person worked at a place that required you to physically write on a sheet of paper how many lines of code you checked in that day. And he thought it clever to, when he couldn't give a positive number, to give a negative number. And I thought that was so good back then. It also directly applies to the old adage of the only winning move is not to play. But at the same time, if nobody wrote any code, we wouldn't have all this cool internet shit, right? We wouldn't have the myriad of games that exist. We wouldn't have streaming on-demand video services and music. The art of the world would not be so easily shareable if not for software. So in the end, I guess it's a good thing, right? We can't hate it entirely, even when it doesn't work properly or the way that we want it to. But I am convinced that taking things slow, doing things really incrementally, and not rushing, you can make things really solid and fast. It may not be made fast, but the software itself can be fast. So with combat, we only have kind of a mock-up working at the moment, right? And of course, a lot of this is going to go into its own function at some point. I like your positive thinking, though, Jira. It's very positive thinking to say code that exists is greater than code that doesn't exist. I mean, it's like saying, you know, for people who say, you know, oh, you're not able to rap or whatever, and it's like, well, all right, where's the raps that you've done? You know, how many people who actually talk shit are able to deliver their own content? Tell you what. I tell you what. No, for real, I tell you what. There probably isn't very many. There probably are not very many tutors on the internet who are capable of walking an undergraduate student through the implementation of a JavaScript interpreter in Scala. And I did that shit. One of the most traumatic experiences of my life. Like, I remember being like passed out stoned, like slurping down like a sub sandwich, and like looking at like Scala code that was up on a projector, and we were like debugging some shit, and I just like casually point out like a couple things that fixed it, and she's like, oh my god, how did you do that? And I'm just like, this is what I do. Like you give me food, I can do anything. No, I was not a fan of Scala, but interestingly enough, I ran into this really cute chick at the airport who was working for some internet provider who happened to be working in Scala, and I hadn't really heard that much about the language, but I found it just like such a small universe that I happened to be tutoring a student in Scala and run into this random person who happened to also be like, airports are fun because it gives me an opportunity to actually meet new people, and I mean like new people, and then you actually find that you have something in common. That shit's crazy. That shit always blows my mind. Actually, Jira, I want to get your thoughts on Zig. I saw some Twitter post about how the wife of some dude just gave like $300,000 to the Zig Foundation, and I'm thinking, damn, that's a solid investment. Zig must actually be going places, and it's supposed to be close enough to see that I should pick it up and have a rather good time with it. I feel like the Primogen has like gone from like Go to like a bunch of other languages to Zig, and I think he's currently working in Zig. I'm not trying to trend ride, but I'm also just trying so hard to avoid Rust, because I fucking hate Rust. I'm more of a fan of Scala than I am of Rust. Check it. I would much rather write Scala every day for the rest of my life than have to write any more Rust. Rust is just like that asshole manager who says you can't do anything. And I'm like, no, I want to do this. And it's like, no, you can't do that. That's not allowed. And you're like, but I've done it this way my entire life. How can you say I can't do it this way? And they're just like, well, no reason, but it's not safe. You have to do this other thing first. We're not going to tell you what it is, but you have to do it before we'll let you do that thing. So another one of those better C languages. It has benefited from its obscurity and minimal drama and a very welcoming and fired up community. But if you'll start using Zig, that will change. I'd like to hope and think that just because something becomes popular or more used or more favored, or, you know, the mainstream, and I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong. I don't want to be wrong, but here's my hope, right? Not just for Zig, but for any technology or thing that becomes popular, that the spirit of the thing itself remains true and untainted by, I don't want to call it the woke mob, right? Because, first of all, I have a big problem with the term woke in its current usage, because there was a time when it actually meant something greater than what it's been twisted into meaning now, right? The woke that I knew comes before the era of increased social justice. Woke was the term that I kind of began seeing used in 2013 in the context of the awakening that occurs when one takes psychedelic substances. You're awake in that you've opened your mind's eye, and that you can see the world for how it really is. That's what it's supposed to mean. But then people began to use it in different contexts. And that's why I try not to use that term, because I don't want people to get confused by what I'm actually pointing at. Because I like to use it in its original context. But with the recent drama with certain game engines, certain languages, certain tooling, certain communities have put on a bad look. And while I try not to make my choice of tools based off of what the relative politics are, it's just good luck that my choice of tooling is currently and probably will always be untainted by those dramas. Yeah, I might end up trying out Zig. I don't know what it benefits over C or C++ or anything, but it can't hurt to check out. You know, I enjoyed getting certain things up and running and go to a point where I could technically come back to it. It's all utility based for me. Like, I don't really like building web shit. I don't really like doing server stuff. I don't really like necessarily tooling a lot of that stuff around. I like automating things and making things easier. But, you know, like at a certain point, like, you know, I decided, well, if I need to build this thing, I'm going to use Python. If I need to build this other thing, I'm probably going to use like C++ or C. I keep having some other outside of game dev project ideas involving bug bounty, database management. My existing system works, but it's, you know, I also see opportunities for some of my workflow to be smoothed out a bit. If I took the time to like design some databases and then script some things out, I might be able to get something that's a little bit more portable. Because I have a lot of data that I work with, and centralizing it in a way better than I'm currently doing might be useful. The way I arranged it currently was all in favor of this application called AMAS, which is used for a lot of different things involving DNS and subdomain harvesting. I don't even use AMAS anymore in my workflow, but I've still kept that structure because it makes things easy to find. it's all file system based, but I could migrate things to a database structure. That would take time, and we all know I don't have patience to actually complete anything. So when I do complete things, it's because I've broken things down into small little chunks, and I'm able to just jam through, get working real quick, and then add to my toolkit. So whatever it is that I do has to be done easily. Building all this, getting this together, this has been easy. That's because I took it piece by piece. Now this code, this like all this sprite group shit, this needs a lot of refactoring. It's not optimal. It's all centered around which direction key you pressed and what your previous direction that you were facing is. So like one of the things I have to do is like create a relationship between like the direction that the player's facing and the direction that the sprite is actually facing, because you have 8 directional movement, but you only have sprites for up left, up right, and down left. So I had to do a lot of hard coding to make that look right when you're actually moving around. But that's still all visual. It's not actually like related to the game mechanics. So actually, so like, for instance, if you press the down key, then we go ahead and update the sprite group to make the sprite look like it's moving down. Depending on what the previous direction was, he may be facing right or left. And then we actually attempt a in-game move that actually updates like the dungeon. If the player is in a spot where he can actually move to the next tile, then the result's going to return true. And then we actually update the sprite group move element with a value of 0, 8, because 8 would be down on the y-axis, right? So the move like vector is used in the smooth movement, so it gives the appearance that like after the move executes, you know, frame by frame, it makes the player actually move into the next tile, so that it's not just jumping to the next tile. That was a bit of work, but it was worth it because it looks and feels pretty good. I'm trying to keep 4 lines between each function for cleanliness. It's more than most people use, but I like having just like one function in my eyesight. Handle cam, it's pretty hard coded, but it works. 8 directional camera movement. This is suboptimal. I'm going to eventually go back and change how the debug panel text gets updated. Optimize. So this is the smooth move function. It just simply updates the destination of the spray and the move vector. And it does so until the vectors are 0. And if they're 0, then we just like hard set the position, make sure that it's actually in the position. Previously, I attempted to get rid of that and it didn't look exactly right. Do camera lock on. We could turn that back on. Handle NPC turn. This is a simple random directional selection. And then for each direction, we handle like which way they're moving. This naturally needs to be updated and modified. So every frame update game state gets called. This was update smooth moves. Right on, Jiro. Take it easy, man. Catch you later. Yeah, I'll probably be getting off to eat and stuff soon. I'm not actually getting a whole lot done this stream and didn't plan to because I already got it done early. Right now I'm just kind of stepping through and making sure I've taken a mental account of the current state of things and what all it is that I actually want to do next. Looks pretty good. I don't even know that. So we probably want to add like a stun to the enemy when he gets attacked. That's slightly safer. Now it's not yelling at me about that anymore. And then hash table entity ID entity get. You see, it's saying attack is successful, but we're not seeing the animation occur. All right, everything's still good. Managed to get rid of a few lines there too. a vector. We can also have const here, const there, const here, const. Just some cleanup on some functions, some real basic primitive stuff. Oh, the build time's going up because of Inscripted. Fuck. It's poisoned my build stats. Uh-oh. The build time's gone up a bit. All right, yeah, we're gonna take a break now. I've been on for 2 hours. Thanks to everyone who came on and told me that my microphone fucking sucks. I don't know that actually getting a new mic will fix the problem, but it's worth looking into. Preferably something with a USB-C input instead of this weird proprietary connection. With any luck, that'll actually solve a problem, but we don't know until we try, so we got a lot to do. We got to pace ourselves. So until next time, everyone.